Dear viewer, if I could ask you just for a moment in time, close your eyes and imagine a scenario for me. Imagine you come from a very privileged background where your parents have a lot of money, and throughout your entire life, you've been given everything you could ever imagine and that you ask for. And you've grown up with that silver spoon in your mouth, and you start to think that you're maybe a little bit untouchable. But outside of your privileged lifestyle, you have to realize that maybe, just maybe, if I do something a little bit too aggressive, I'll eventually get that touch on my shoulder. And now imagine you've grown up to the point to where you can go to college and you spend your first few months enjoying yourself and having fun, meeting new people, going new places, interacting with all different types so that you could experience what it's like to be a human in the real world. But then one day, news breaks of worldwide tragedies that inspires you to speak up for the underclass and underprivileged, and you decide, along with a group of your friends, to stage protests so that the administrators of the college that you attend stop funding all of these different organizations that you deem unfair to the underprivileged. But those negotiations don't work out because none of you know how to actually negotiate anything, because all you do is bitch and moan. So you face the consequence of being suspended from that college you worked so hard to get into. And instead of calling mom or calling dad and saying, hey, I did a very dumb thing, you decide to, for some odd reason, let everybody know that you're homeless. This woman by the name of Alania Aza is one of the unfortunate souls who has to wake up and realize that even though you want to fight for something, there are consequences when you do things that annoy everybody else. And while trying to hold protest in either defense or support of all of the real world conflict that is going on across the world, she and various others decided we were going to try to hold sit-ins to lead to some form of a negotiation to help stop funding from supporting things that they deem unjust. And that didn't work at all. And she was going around after these negotiations fell through, telling everybody that she didn't have a family to go back home to here. And I can understand that type of sentiment because you are an international student, and across the pond, other individuals won't have that much access to you. But when you come from a rich background and you were recently going on various vacations to different areas across the world, it stands to reason why a lot of people don't have too much sympathy for you. Now, devil's advocate, I could sit here and say maybe that privileged lifestyle came at a cost and you had to live a very strict lifestyle, and maybe this was your first amount of taste of freedom and you were using it to the full extent and it tasted very good up until you got a little bit too much of the fork in your mouth, and now you have to have the uncomfortable conversation with mommy and daddy that, hey mommy, dad, could you send me a couple $1,000s for me to stay at a hotel for a couple of days, because I may or may not have gotten suspended from school because I was one of the people holding protests that could help out with people across the world. I could understand that being a very scary thing for a 19-year-old to have to say to their parents, because let's be honest, whether if you're rich, middle class, or poor, you don't want to receive a phone call from your child saying that they've been suspended from school, especially if they're across the world. It would be something that would annoy anyone. And to add further salt into the wound, Atenia participated in negotiations that were, once again, unsuccessful, which led to nothing. You did all of this. You tried to fight for a group of people. You tried to stick up and make sure that people are seen and validated and realize that innocent people should not be at the feet and beck and call of oppressing, abusive powers. And yet you failed because you're a dumbass who thought, yay, I'm going to set up various tents and these administrators will have to know that I'm very serious about the things that I mean, and nothing will happen to me because we're fighting and it's our free speech. And as I've said numerous times, you have a right to complain about whatever you want. But once it becomes a hindrance to other people, especially corporations, companies, colleges, businesses, they have the right to punish you how they see fit. And since you're a student and you're doing things that lead to issues for other students, they're going to suspend you, whether if you like it or not. If you look at a good majority of the protests by Americans or people in America in either support or hindrance to all of this real world conflict, you tend to notice that a lot of them are pointless. From the random sit-ins to the random shouting to the blocking people from going in and out of buildings to actually stopping people from leaving buildings because you seemingly think that holding custodians hostage is somehow going to change anything, to going to your graduation, getting the diploma and ripping it as if somehow that's supposed to be a message that means something to anybody in any part of the world.
Joy Lynn Van Hassel. Bixia Chen.
Tearing our diplomas, ending our relationship with this university, and that's what we're going to do. Thank you.
We're not happy to take some questions.
Can you just clarify the part?
I'm certain those dying kids love that your privileged ass got up on a stage and ripped up a piece of paper that has nothing to do with them. Congratulations, you went into debt for absolutely nothing. But as long as I keep seeing this, the more I need to point it out. If you're going to pick a battle, pick one that doesn't, one, make you look stupid, and two, leave you in a situation that you're not prepared for. You are on international waters, you're away from your family, and yeah, you're a little bit homeless, but it's a little bit different from somebody else who is in the same category as you, but doesn't have the same amount of money as you. You have the luxury of calling mommy and daddy and asking for a loan. Other people don't fit that category. And I don't feel bad for you because you chose to do something, and maybe in your mind, you know, you're young, you're dumb, you're just like everybody else on the planet. You didn't really think this plan through, and that's your own fault. So my advice to you as you make that concerning phone call to mommy and daddy of, oh, well, there's been a little bit of a mix up here. I've kind of gotten in trouble for fighting for some rights. Make sure the next time you decide to pointlessly babble and lead to no amount of effect whatsoever, you do it in a way that does not put you in trouble. Because saying people in the past have fought for things and they've gone to jail is vastly different from a rich motherfucker just having to call people asking for money so that they can go back home. Don't ever compare those two things ever again. You motherfuckers are wildly disrespectful, and maybe that's your leftist type SJW brain thinking one thing is equal to the other thing when it's not even fucking close. But in the meantime, you can subscribe to the channel. I would love to know, is it nice to fight for rights, even if you realize that you are going to feel some type of consequence about that? Or are you delusional enough to think, oh my God, these consequences are unfair. How are you punishing me when all you should have done is exactly what I said, as if doing what I say is going to make sure that all this conflict magically goes away? Spoiler alert, it has not, as of me recording this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.